who was killed. Now you see, the relationship between the 3rd Imam and the 12th Imam, our Imam, is very clearly put. When somebody asks Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam, Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, what is this verse talking about? The Imam says in no uncertain terms that the one who is killed, man qutila madluman, the one who is killed unjustly, the one who has oppression done to him and he is killed, that is Imam Hussein. And his heir, his wali, that is our Imam. Meaning what? Meaning the one who will take revenge for the death of Imam Hussein, for the murder of Imam Hussein, will be our Imam. Our Imam's responsibility is to take revenge for that murder in Karbala. But it's a very grave responsibility, a very grave requirement. In the matter and in the point where we are told at the time of the death of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam, Muhammad wa in the last few moments of the life of Imam Ali, he calls his son towards him, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, and he says to him, my son Hassan, it is upon you, the duty is upon you to take revenge out on Ibn Muljim. Ibn Muljim who struck me, it is up to you to carry out justice in this matter. The first thing we realize here, that the Imams too want justice for the dhulm that happens to them. The Imams also want justice for the oppression that takes place over them. He tells Imam Hassan that it's up to you. But then he goes on and he gives him further instruction. He says to Imam Hassan, look Hassan, if you strike Ibn Muljim with even an ounce more power than he struck me with. How did Ibn Muljim kill Imam Ali? He struck him in the back of the head during sajda. Imam Ali says to Imam Hassan, look Hassan, if you strike Ibn Muljim with even an ounce more power than Ibn Muljim struck me with, then you will have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Meaning, when it comes to carrying out justice, people like me and you, we don't have the necessary skill, we don't have the necessary control to be able to carry out justice the way it should be carried out. So what do we do instead? We make sure justice is upheld in the first place. Instead of having to carry out revenge, what we do is we make sure that there is nothing to avenge in the first place. We try our best to make sure that in our lives and around our lives, there is no opportunity for anybody to do dhulm, no opportunity for anybody to become madloom, no opportunity for oppression of any sort to take place. And when I say the word oppression, it seems as though I'm talking about something on a massive scale. It seems as though I'm talking about something massive, something really big. No, oppression in our lives can look like anything. It can look like bullying. Oppression in our lives, it can look like somebody having something taken or stolen from them. Oppression in our lives, it can be anything that hurts the heart of a mu'min or a non-mu'min or a disbeliever. Something that hurts the heart of somebody else unjustly, without cause, without reason, is oppression. And we have to stop for a moment and think to ourselves, how often do we make sure we're trying our best to stop somebody else from being hurt? To stop somebody else from having any kind of pain in their heart, whatever it may be. How many times have we been the cause that somebody is upset? How many times have we been the cause that somebody does not want to be around us? We have to think about these moments in our lives, these things that happen, and realize for ourselves, it's up to us, because all of these count as dhulm on a different scale. The dhulm we think about, when we think about dhulm, when we think about oppression, we think about things like what's going on in Palestine, what's going on in Gaza. We think about things like what's going on in Sudan. We think about things like what's happening in Libya. We think about all of these oppressions all over the world. The reality is, oppression happens in each and every one of our lives. We see it all around us. The question is, will you stand with those who are being oppressed? Will you be a good person to them? Or will you just let it slide by and happen? Or in some cases, will you be involved and be the cause of that? We have to be very careful with our actions. Recite another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa We have to be careful when it comes to this oppression, that we realize what it really means. Because our Imam's mission, the third Imam's mission, it was to eradicate that oppression on the largest scale, the oppression of Yazid. But when it comes to his relationship with our Imam, we see something very curious, we see something very odd. Our Imam, or the third Imam, he says to his son, the fourth Imam, Imam Zain al-Abidin, he says to him, my son, my blood will not stop boiling until the time of the return of our Imam, Imam Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala faraj al-Sharif. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Today, because I'm talking about our Imam, you guys are going to have to send a lot more salawats than usual, but do it with a bit of energy, please. Recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We've all got a very long night ahead of us, and I might as well mention this at this point. I was hoping to at some point. Inshallah, some of us will be travelling from here to Bustan-e-Zahra and Harrow, from there, inshallah, to Dar Jafri and Tooting, and from there, inshallah, after Azan al-Yakbar, we'll make our way back to Reading. We have a lot of people and not a lot of spaces in the cars. If anybody would like to join us, is willing to drive with us, inshallah, do. You guys have got a very long night ahead of you. The reason I brought this up, you guys have got a very long night ahead of you. If you're looking sleepy right now and you're sounding sleepy with your salawats right now, the rest of the night is going to be a real struggle. So make sure you're awake and make sure you're energized in this moment. You see, our Imam, he's saying, and as I come back to the point, it seems like it was a while ago, but as I come back to the point, our Imam is telling us about his connection with Imam Hussein, or rather Imam Hussein is telling us about his connection with our Imam, the Imam of our time. He says, verily, my blood will not stop boiling until the return of our Imam. Why though? Ya Imam, what's the reason for that? If we want to know the reason for that, we go back to the Holy Quran again. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, very famously on the day of Ghadir, He sends down a verse via Angel Jibreel in which He says to the Holy Prophet and for all of the people to understand what? He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum deenukum. On this day I have completed your religion. Now tell me, a world in which the complete Islam exists, a world in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He's completed His favor upon us. وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي. In that world, is there scope for zulm? In that world, should we be seeing Islam as we see it today? When we look out at the state of the Muslims today, what do we see? Today it came out in the news that Saudi Arabia aided Israel in its defense against Iran's strikes, and it aided Israel in its attacks on Iran. Saudi Arabia is meant to be a Muslim country. Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum deenukum. On this day I've completed for you your religion. Do I see the complete religion in Saudi Arabia? Is that the completion of the religion? But Allah said He's completed the religion, so what happened? When we look around the world today and we look at the state of Muslims, you've got University of Reading here, not too far away. University of Reading, or any university in the UK, if you go there, you'll see, have a look at the Muslim students. And for those of you who aren't aware, it's a sad state of affairs. You'll see those Muslim students going to pubs, going to clubs, drinking alcohol, getting high. You'll see all of that from who? From the Muslim students. Is that the complete Islam? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said He's completed Islam. Is that the completed Islam that we're seeing in the world today? Or is there something missing? But there can't be something missing. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in the Quran, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not lie, nor does He make a mistake. He said, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum deenukum. On this day I have completed your religion. So Ya Allah, what are we missing? What are we missing from that complete religion that the state of the Muslims is such today? The reply would come, what you are missing is the completion of the mission of the Savior of Islam. Islam, the mission is still going. The message has been completed. The teachings of Islam are completed. Everything you need to know about your religion is available for you to know. Now is the mission of acting upon it. Now is the mission of carrying that out. And you see, when Yazid decided he would take up the throne, when it was decided that Yazid would be, na'udhu billah, the new ruler of the Islamic kingdom, the reason Imam Hussein alayhi salam had no choice but to stand up in that moment is because Yazid wasn't simply trying to be a bad ruler. In fact, Yazid wasn't even trying to be a ruler who doesn't follow Islam. That's not what Yazid was trying to be. Yazid was trying to tilt and distort Islam to make it what he wanted it to be. If Yazid had been able to reign in power legitimately, today alcohol would be halal. Today, prayer would not be a thing. Today, fasting would not be a thing. Today, the Kaaba would not exist. Yazid tried to destroy the Kaaba. You see, if Yazid was able to legitimately rule over the Islamic world, then today we would not have the Islam we have. It wasn't just like in the past where people had tried to rule but ignore what Islam says. Those people, they didn't try and change what the religion was. Yazid wanted to change the religion to make it suit him. We see it very similarly in the Church of England. Most of you guys will have learned about this in school. Why did the Protestant church come into existence? This country was a Catholic country before. Why did the Protestant church come into existence? Because Henry VIII, he didn't like the rules of the Catholic faith. So instead of deciding, you know what, I'm just going to go against the rules, he decided, no, what I'll do is I'll make what I want to do a part of the religion. And so he creates a new religion just off of the back of that. That's what Yazid wanted to do in his time. Imam Hussein, he had to stand up to that. He had to stop that. When he tried to destroy what Islam truly is, Imam Hussein stood up against Yazid. But the problem is, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, as he says to Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayha before he goes towards the battlefield, he says, Zainab, from here on, you have to carry my flag. From here on, you have to carry this message. Zainab, from here on, it is your duty and your jihad. Your struggle starts here. He says it to our fourth Imam as well. When our fourth Imam tries to go towards the battlefield, Imam Hussein turns to Imam Zain al-Abidin and says, no, Sajjad, your struggle is to come. Your mission is about to start. Meaning what? Meaning the day of Ashura, the message and the mission of that day, it didn't end on Ashura, no. That was only one point. And in fact, you might look at that as simply the beginning. Imam Hussein, he says that his blood will not stop boiling until the return of our Imam. Why? Because his mission will not be complete until that point. Everything Imam Hussein gave, everything he sacrificed, every person in his family, all those months he spent away from home, all that time under the boiling desert sun, the lack of food and water, all of that, it is not yet come to fruition. Why? Because our Imam has not yet completed that mission. He's not rounded off that circle. He's not finished off the attempts of Imam Hussein in Karbala. And the success of Karbala will only be fully complete when our Imam is successful as well. Recite aloud, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali. You see, our Imam, when it comes to his mission, it's not a standalone mission. It's not like our Imam will come and start everything over again. No. There is a clear connection between our Imam and Imam Hussein. In fact, when our Imam returns at the Kaaba, according to some narrations, the very first sermon he will give, the very first lecture he will give at the Kaaba will be narrating everything that happened in Karbala on Ashura. Further from that, we see the relationship between the two is that our Imam will return on the day of Ashura itself. But here's the thing. Our Imam, it's not like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will simply tell him one day, right, it's time, go. And he will come rushing out. No. According to the narrations we have, on the night of Laylatul Qadr in Ramadan, according to Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salatu wa salam, on that night of Laylatul Qadr in Ramadan, our Imam will be instructed that now the time is here. Get ready to come out of ghaibah. The call will be heard by our Imam. And so from Ramadan till Ashura, our Imam will be getting ready for that return. He is always in a state of readiness, but that period, he will accelerate that. And just think, in that period, in that time, what will the Imam be doing the most? I can't tell you definitively, but my heart and my mind tells me the Imam will be looking out into the world in that time and picking amongst those mu'mineen who he will take into his army of 313. He will be looking throughout the world and seeing who is it that is worthy of standing alongside me, and who is it that I will have to push away, who is it that I will have to reject. See, here's the thing. So many of us around the world, we like to say we are Muslims, we like to say we are mu'mins, but if your actions don't reflect that, then on that day, even if you try to go towards the Imam, there's no guarantee your Imam will accept you if in this life up to that point all of your deeds have been against what the Imam tells you to do. All of your actions, all of your thoughts, everything has been against the Imam. You think on that day you're going to flick a switch and all of a sudden the Imam's going to tell you, come with me, I need you in my army. No. If you weren't strong enough to resist the desires of this life, you're not going to be strong enough to stand by your Imam. You see, we spoke about strength, we spoke about loyalty. That all comes into play now. Don't wait until you hear the trumpets blow in the sky. Don't wait until you hear the return of the Imam has happened. No. Your time starts now. Every single moment is a moment for you to begin looking at how you improve yourself. Every single moment is a chance for you to start going on that journey towards being a soldier of your Imam. It's like we said a few days ago, the famous rhetoric that became famous a few years ago when one of our great shuhada was martyred. Shaheed shudan ya'ni shaheed budan. To become a martyr means to have been a martyr already. You don't all of a sudden just become a martyr. No, you make yourself worthy. You live your life as a martyr. And then when the time comes, inshallah, then you will be selected. You will be chosen. But what will the world look like when our Imam returns? That's what I wanted to get into today. The return of our Imam, what will that look like? What will be happening? What will be going on? You see, we're told about different kinds of signs. And I've split them up into two. One is the signs of how the world will look in general at the time of the return of the Imam. And the second is specific events and occurrences that will happen. Inshallah, we'll get through as many of them as we can. The first thing we see is that injustice will be strife throughout the world. And we hear that a lot, right? When you think about the time when the Imam will return, that's the thing everyone says. There will be injustice throughout the world, and that's why he'll return, to return justice to the world. But what does that look like? What does that mean? What is that injustice going to seem like all around us? The first thing we have to recognize and realize is you don't have to imagine what that injustice will look like. You can see it right in front of your eyes. You can see it right in front of you. Every system of government seems to have failed its people right now. We look at just a few days ago, or rather yesterday, there was a vote in Parliament about proscribing an organization as terrorists. Now, because that vote passed, I won't express any support for the group. I won't even mention their name. But what I will say is that we believe they should not be proscribed as terrorists. That much is legally allowed, that much we can say. And what I will also say is that public sentiment, the majority of the people, they believe the same thing. They were against that proscription, but what's the job of your MP? The member of parliament that represents each and every one of you, their job is to represent your voices. The voices of the people of Tilehurst, the voices of the people of Early, the voices of the people of Whitley, and I don't actually know any other areas in Reading apart from that, but each of these places, the MPs for those places, what's their job? When they go to parliament, they're meant to represent what their people think. If the majority of the people think that vote should have been voted no, then why was that vote passed as a yes? Because government is failing us. But not just in this country, all around the world. All around the globe, governments are failing their people. Why? Because the people in charge, the governments in charge, they don't care about the people. They don't care about the ordinary man or woman on the street. No, what do they care about? Themselves, their money, their power, their status. That's what they care about. That's what matters to them. Injustice is all around us in the world. The events that are going on in Palestine, I say the events, the genocide that is going on in Palestine, that clears it up for us. It makes it absolutely plainly obvious for anybody who didn't know. You can see injustices strive throughout the world. Further from that, what are the other alamat? What are the other signs of how the world will look at the time? There's one, and I'm going to mention it first so that I have a bit of time just to dive into it, because it's a very important one that we recognize. A man once comes to our Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he asks him, what will the world look like when your Qa'im returns? What will the world look like when our Imam returns? You know what the first thing he says is? He says there will be lots of fitna in the land. Fitna is that thing which divides people, it drives people away from the religion. It is generally a terrible thing. I'm trying to think of an English word that matches the level of fitna, but there doesn't seem to be one really. The Holy Prophet says there will be many fitnas in the land. And you know what the first one he mentions is? The very first fitna he mentions according to this hadith? He says one of those will be addiction. I want to stop and focus for a moment on what addiction really is. Addiction is when you know you shouldn't be doing something, you don't want to do it, your brain says no, but you can't stop yourself, you do it anyway. Now, when I mention addiction on the minbar, or anyone mentions addiction, usually the thing that everyone goes to straight away is what? Your phone. First of all, yes, many of us are addicted to phones, but the reality is, it's not quite as simple as saying I'm addicted to my phone. Not only am I addicted to my phone, I'm addicted to all of the different things that go on in the phone. Things that you know you shouldn't be doing, but you still do regardless. When you know you should be doing something else and you still turn towards your phone, that's addiction. I myself am guilty of it at times as well. I know I should be working, but I'm on my phone. I know I should be getting up and getting ready because I'm getting late, but I'm on my phone. I know I should be going out to do this or that or whatever, but let me wait a bit, I'm on my phone. That right there is what addiction looks like. And yes, Mehdi's right. I know I should be driving, but I should be focusing on the road, but I'm on my phone. It happens to all of us. And like I said, I'm guilty of it too. If the police are watching, not the driving one, the rest of them I'm guilty of. But you see, addiction to the phone. But then what's going on in that phone? What am I doing on that phone? There are so many addictions within our phone as well. And I'll mention it in vague terms so that those of you who understand can get to understand what I'm talking about. You know, when you're home alone, door closed, brightness down, you're on your phone, whatever you're doing in that moment, you know you shouldn't be doing it, but still you're doing it, that's addiction. I'll go one step further and I'll say the relationships that we get into, the haram relationships, I know I shouldn't be talking to them. I know I'm not meant to be doing it, but I enjoy it, so I'll do it anyway. My mind is telling me there's no point, you're not meant to be doing it. It's not going to go anywhere. Nothing's going to happen with it. But I'm enjoying it, so I'll do it anyway. You're addicted to that feeling of enjoyment. You're addicted to that. That's an addiction. Rasulullah, when he mentions the fitnas, which will be the cause of the Imam returning, meaning what? The injustice, the thing the Imam's returning to get rid of from the world. Those addictions, the fitnas he mentions, are these addictions is what he mentions first. Addiction to your phone is such a base level of putting it. What you're doing on your phone, who you're talking to on your phone, what you're listening to on your phone, everything you use your phone for. Am I meant to be doing it? In my head, do I know? Should I be doing this or not? If in my head I know I'm not meant to be doing this and still I find myself going after it, I find myself unable to stop doing it, that's an addiction. Whenever we speak about an addiction, you tell someone, oh, you're addicted. What's the first thing they say? Oh no, I can stop anytime I want. So do it. Stop. Take this moment as your chance. Stop right now. All of those things that you shouldn't be doing, stop right now. That's an addiction. The Holy Prophet is telling us. And then he goes on and he lists other fitnas, other injustices and other things that go on in the world that the Imam will come to get rid of. Make sure that when the Imam returns, make sure that the things you're doing aren't the things that he's coming to get rid of. Make sure you're not the one doing the very things that the Imam is coming to save us from. What else does the Holy Prophet say in that moment? He says, men will dress like women. You don't have to go far in the world to see that. But I'll remind us as well, sat here, there's the obvious examples in the world around us, but at the same time, there's certain rules that apply to us. Men are not allowed to wear gold nor silk. Why? Because they're feminine. Make sure the way you dress, the way you do your hair, the way you wear your clothes, the way you dress and the way you act, the way you are, make sure you're not making yourself effeminate. Make sure you're not feminizing yourself. Make sure you're not making yourself more like a girl. I say more like a girl. Make sure you're not making yourself like a girl if you're a guy. Men will dress like women. Amongst the other signs, and this, for those of you, it might not strike many of you youngers as something that serious, but for those of you who are a little bit older, who travel into London a fair bit for work, one of the signs is that there will be many high-rise buildings being built. You go into London, every 6 months there's a new tower block, or at least 10. The Prophet is telling us of all these signs, and right in front of our eyes, they're all coming true. The Prophet is telling us about these things, and right in front of our eyes, we can see it all happening, and yet we're still not ready to start preparing for the Imam. There's no promise of tomorrow. There's no guarantee of tomorrow. Forget tomorrow. There is no guarantee that I will live to the end of this lecture, to the end of this sentence even. So why am I so lazy when it comes to getting ready for my Imam? I say all the time, Ya Imam, I want to be in your army. Ya Imam, let me stand under your banner. Ya Imam, let me be one of your people. Ya Imam, let me be amongst the 313. When am I going to start acting like it? When am I going to start making a difference? It's like Many people say when it comes to going for ziyarah, inshallah, when the Imam calls me, I will go. The Imam's not going to go on Skyscanner and book your ticket for you. You have to do something yourself, and then you will get that, inshallah, invitation from the Imam. May we all get the chance to go and see our Imams. You see, with anything and with everything, we have to put in a bit of effort as well. We have to take those steps towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will pull us so much closer than we could have ever imagined. But we have to take those steps first. It won't just happen one day. And then we come into the signs, and I'll mention a few of the actual events and occurrences that will happen before the return of the Imam. And I'll mention a few very specific ones. One is that black flags will be raised from Khurasan. Khurasan is in Iran. Another is that a righteous man known as Nafs al-Zakiyya, the pure soul, with 70 of his companions will be killed just outside Kufa. And the third, and there's many of these signs, I'm only mentioning these three for a very specific reason. The third is that the wall of Masjid al-Kufa will be destroyed. Now you see, I want us to realize and recognize how quickly the scope of the world can change. When we look at the time when the Imam will return, when we look at all of the things we're told about that, it can sometimes seem like, how will one man come and rule the world? How will one man come and take over the world? The whole world has to change before that's even possible. The whole world has to turn upside down before it's even possible for one man to rule the whole world, before it's possible for there to be no injustice in the world. It's very easy to look at that and think, yeah, that's not possible. That's not going to happen in our lives. That's got to be really far away. The first example I'll use is COVID. Right in front of us, within a matter of weeks, the entire system of how the world works changed. The entire system of how the world works was flipped on its head. And now the lives we live, what we consider normal, that wasn't normal 5, 6 years ago. No. Most of us in this room, we grew up in a very different world to the world that we're living in now. Why? Because COVID changed everything very, very quickly. Don't think the world can't change in an instant. The second thing, the second example that I'll use, and the reason that I mentioned those three signs specifically, the black flags being raised from Khurasan, the righteous man and his 70 companions being killed in Kufa, and the wall of Masjid al-Kufa being dropped. Very recently we saw in the war between Iran and Israel, there were missiles being fired, rockets being fired, and jets flying over between Israel and Iran. Do you know what country lies between Israel and Iran? Amongst a few others, Iraq. Iraq is home to what? The city of Kufa. Now just imagine, for one moment, in that war between Israel and Iran, Khurasan is where? In Iran. Black flags are raised in the war. Very possible, very plausible, it can easily happen. Now imagine one of those rockets that was headed towards Iran. Iraq has decided they're going to defend Iran, as they tend to try and do within their capacity. And so it's decided that one of these rockets, instead of heading for Iran, we're going to have this rocket hit Iraq instead. It lies between Israel and Iran. Imagine that rocket lands in Kufa. That could be one singular blast that knocks down the wall of Masjid al-Kufa, kills an innocent man and 70 of his companions. This war between Iran and Israel, how long did it last? 12 days? 13 days? When you look at that, just think. Three of the major signs of the return of our Imam, they could have all happened in that one 12-day span, and we would have been none the wiser. We couldn't have stopped that happening. It could have been in that 12-day span that everything switches, and all of a sudden, we talk of World War III, right? We talk of what happens if nukes are dropped on people here and there and whatever. It doesn't take an instant for the entire world to change. Don't think that the return of the Imam requires months and years and decades and centuries before it's even possible. No, it could happen in an instant. Tomorrow is the day of Ashura. That is the day our Imam will return. You see, every time Ashura rolls around, we should make sure that we are ready. That if tomorrow is the day that the Imam returns, if tomorrow is the Ashura that we have finally been waiting for, we have to make sure we're ready. Ya Imam, I've lived my life so much so that now I am ready for your return to be tomorrow. We shouldn't have any hesitation in saying, oh Imam, I need a bit more time. Oh Imam, maybe next year. No. Because when the Imam returns, you won't get a chance to say maybe next year. You won't get a chance to say, oh Imam, let me practice this first. Let me get better at this first. Let me make myself a better Muslim first. No, the Imam will take who is ready at that time. It's up to us to make sure we're part of that group. Recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The final sign that the Prophet mentioned, or the final one that I'll mention out of the ones that the Prophet mentioned, is that people will stop reading their salah. Stay dear to your salah always. Never forget your namaz. It was on the morning of Ashura, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, as the time for Fajr began to approach, his heart began to tremble. Abu Abdullah knows that today is the day that I will meet my grandfather Rasulullah. He knows today is the day where my mother Zahra will come from Jannah for me. He knows today is the day where Ali Murtaza is watching how his Hussein fights his battle. Abu Abdullah, as his heart's trembling, he does what he always does to try and soothe his heart, to bring peace and comfort to his heart. He goes to his son Ali al-Akbar. He says, Ali, today I want you to give the azan. Why, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, why does he want Akbar to give the azan in this moment? We realize why when Hazrat Ali Akbar, after the battle has begun, he comes to Imam Hussein and he asks his father, my father, will you give me permission to go out to the battlefield? In that moment, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he turns towards the skies. He calls out, Ya Allah, bear witness that now I am sending the one who most resembles your messenger, my grandfather Rasulullah, in the way he looks, in the way he walks, in the way he talks, in his akhlaq and his mannerisms, the one who most reflects your prophet. Oh Allah, I am sending him towards you now. Oh Allah, bear witness now, my young son will go, the one who resembles Rasulullah. This is exactly why on the morning of Ashura, Abu Abdullah, to soothe his heart, he says to Akbar, Akbar, you go and give the adhan today. Hussein wants to hear the voice of his grandfather. He wants to remember Rasulullah again. The battle begins. Ali Akbar has come to Imam Hussein. You find something very peculiar in the history of when Hazrat Ali Akbar comes to ask for permission. In all of the history books you see, whenever somebody would come to ask Imam Hussein for permission, he would send them away at first. He would tell them, no, not right now, wait a little longer, not just yet. But when Akbar comes to Imam Hussein does not say to Akbar, not right now. He does not say, Akbar, I can't let you go. He does not say, Akbar, wait a little longer. But what he also doesn't do is at no point will you hear Abu Abdullah utter the words, go Akbar, go towards the battlefield. Hussein does not say the words. Instead, Hussein says to him, Akbar, go and get the permission of your mother. Ali al-Akbar goes to the tent of his mother. Bibi Layla says to him, Akbar, of course you have my permission, go. Akbar returns to his father Hussein. Hussein looks at him, he says, Akbar, that is the mother who gave birth to you. But what of the mother who raised you? Akbar, have you gone and gotten permission from Zainabiya Kubra? Now Akbar is worried. He thinks to himself, how will I get my auntie Zainab to let me go to the battlefield? He goes towards the tent of his auntie Zainab. He enters the tent and he says, my auntie Zainab, I have a question. Tell me, who is more dear and who is more precious? The son of Zahra Hussein or your son Ali al-Akbar? Zainab says, Akbar, what kind of a question do you ask? Of course, Zahra's son Hussein is more precious. Akbar looks towards his auntie and he says, Auntie Zainab, then don't stop me as I ask your permission to go and give the life of your Akbar for the life of Zahra's Hussein. Zainab says, Akbar, I don't know how I would have said yes, but the way you have asked, I cannot say no. Akbar, go, get ready, the time has come. But how does Ali Akbar leave those tents? How does Ali Akbar get ready to go to battle? A man is standing outside the tents at a distance. He says, I watched when it came time for Ali al-Akbar to go and bid farewell to the women and the children in the tents. I saw him go in, but it took much longer than it had done for any of the other shuhada. At one point, while I was waiting to see him emerge from the tents, I saw the curtain to the tent begin to open, but just as soon as it did, I saw it shut again. He says, I waited, I saw it open again, and again it would close. He says, again and again and again, they would open the curtain of the tent, tent, but nobody would emerge. The tent would shut again. I asked somebody what was happening. I was told that as Akbar went to bid farewell, every time he would say goodbye, he would turn to leave. He would pull the curtain of the tent, but somebody would pull him back by the shoulder. Somebody would pull him back by the sleeve. Somebody would pull him back by his abba. Constantly they would call him back saying, Akbar, just wait a little longer. Let us spend a little more time with you. And the time comes where Abba Abdullah himself enters the tent. He says, enough, enough, the time has come. My Akbar must give his sacrifice. Now Ali al-Akbar turns to leave. Nobody pulls his shoulder, nor his sleeve, nor his abba. But still Akbar does not leave. Why? Because instead of somebody pulling him back, Akbar this time as he tries to leave, he hears a call from the corner of the tent. Akbar, my brother, what did I do to you that you are leaving without saying goodbye to your Sajjad? Sajjad has woken up. He is woken up from his unconsciousness. Akbar rushes over to his brother. They both hold each other in their arms. Akbar bids farewell to Sajjad. Sajjad says goodbye to Akbar. Now Akbar begins to leave the tents. As he goes, he can hear a small patter behind him on his horse. Akbar, this young man, enraged at those who killed his cousin Qasim, enraged at those who killed his uncles, who killed his brothers, who killed all those around him. Akbar now, he will not wait to give his life. He will not wait to attack that army. Imagine Akbar on that horse, how fast he must have been going to attack the armies of Yazid. But all the while, Akbar can hear a patter in the sands behind him. At one point, the patter, as Akbar speeds up, it turns into a thud. He turns back to see what the sound is, and what does he see? He sees Hussein ibn Ali on the ground behind his horse, looking up at his Akbar. Akbar turns around. He says, my father, do I not have your permission? How can I go to the battlefield if you will keep running behind me? In that moment, Mawla Hussein, he says the famous words, Akbar, if only you had a son your age, you would know what goes over the heart of a father as his child goes to die. Ali al-Akbar, he turns with the permission of his father back to the battlefield. But Hussein makes one request of Akbar. He says, Akbar, until you reach that battlefield, every few steps will you turn back and look towards your father Hussein. I want to see your face for as long as I can. Akbar goes, and as he goes towards the battlefield, Imam Hussein, he comes to the entrance of the tents. He is watching Ali al-Akbar inside the tents. In this moment, Bibi Layla and Bibi Zainab are watching Imam Hussein. They watch as Imam Hussein sits on the floor watching towards his Akbar. But at one point, Imam Hussein jumps up. After a little while, he sits back down. Again they watch. Imam Hussein jumps up. Again he sits back down. What is happening? Bibi Zainab asks her brother. Imam Hussein says, Zainab, every time I see the enemy surround my Akbar, I jump up so I can see him, so I know where my child is, so I know what is happening to my child. At one point Hussein stands up. Layla can see him trembling. She asks, what is happening to my Akbar? Hussein says, a great warrior has come before him. Bibi Layla, she says, Hussein, I don't ask for Akbar to not give his life, but let this mother see her child one more time. Mawla Hussein raises his hands up to the heavens. He calls out to Allah. He says, oh, you who returned Yusuf to his Yaqub, return Akbar to his Hussein. Akbar rides back to his father. As he does, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he sees his Akbar beaming with pride. In this moment, Ali al-Akbar, he looks at Hussein and he utters those words which Hussein would never have wished to hear. As his young son is ready to go and give his life, Akbar looks at his father and he says, my father, I would send that entire army of Yazid to hell if only I could could get one drop of water. In that moment, Abu Abdullah, he says, Akbar, come. Akbar, feel my tongue. Now, the scholars that read this, they said that it did not make sense. Why? Look at Akbar's reaction as he feels the tongue of Mawla Hussein. Akbar jumps back, he wails and he screams, my father, you are thirstier than I am. It is as though there are spikes on your tongue. Mawla Hussein, he would not have wanted Akbar to feel any pain. We know this much. So why did he not just say, Akbar, we have no water? One scholar, he says the reason for this may well be that as a father has a young boy, they hold their child in their arms. When their baby son is born, they look after their child, they play with their child, they kiss their child, they hug their child. But as that son begins to grow older, that affection slows down. A father does not hug his son as he gets older. As your son gets older, you do not kiss your son anymore. Whatever it is, this is how the world works. This scholar says Hussein realized, this is the last chance I will get to kiss my Akbar goodbye. He says, Akbar, feel my tongue. Let me kiss you one last time. Now Akbar goes back to the battlefield. I won't recite the full Masa'ib, no. All I will say is now Abu Abdullah, he goes and stands atop a small hill, trying to see his Akbar, trying to watch his battle. Here Sayyida Zainab stands at the entrance to the tents. She cannot see Akbar, but she can see Hussein on that hill. Hussein is standing there watching Akbar. Zainab is standing there watching Hussein. Inside the tents, Bibi Layla is sat on her musalla, waiting for the news that her sacrifice has been accepted. She has her eyes set on Zainab. There comes a moment where the cry is heard in Karbala, my father, accept my last salams. Here, Akbar falls from his horse. Hussein falls from that hill. Zainab falls to the ground. Layla falls into sajda. What happened in that moment? A man hiding in a tree watched as Akbar was rushing past him on his horse. What does he do? As Akbar rides past him in full flow, the grandson of Haydar, none can stop him. This man sees his chance. As Akbar rides past the man hiding in the tree, he strikes a spear into the chest of Akbar. But, and this is the last thing I will say, just imagine that moment. Here, the weight of the spear in Akbar's chest, and at the same time, the speed with which Akbar's horse was running in the opposite direction. Imagine how Akbar falls as the spear drives him off of his horse, calling out to his father, my father, accept my final salah. ألا لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب